Okay, fine. Yeah, the suspension's harsh and it sucks. But
Not at speed, not the way it's designed to be ridden.
well, no, I would even, I'll beg to differ. We'll go, you know what? Blanket statement, the suspension sucks. But if you think about it, when you talk to anybody about getting a bike and you say, I want to throw some money at it, is what's the first thing they tell you to do?
Oh,
Spend the money on suspension.
Malcolm Smith would say if you have 100, spend 99 on the suspension.
Exactly. So why are, so then it's like, yeah, okay, cool. It's
So to your
whatever.
point, all suspension sucks.
Yeah.
Because it all has limitations based on
Exactly.
It's not for you.
Yeah.
They didn't think of you when they designed it, but you are thinking of you, and so you're gonna fine tune it, tweak it, do. Okay,
and
valid.
That's
Totally valid.
And I think and I think that that's how people should look at it. And so if you I'll warn you now, if you ever hear a review, and I'll say specifically with suspension, because it's not sealed shut. And you look at Race Tech and you look at all of these, WP has their own line, and K-Tech, and I would never get to the bottom of the list of suspension companies that are out there that make springs, that make valves, that make valve shims.
It's endless.
It's endless that make seals. So why does that even become a conversation with these bikes? It's like the suspension. So, well, yeah, cool story. But
the suspension on the stock KTMs used to suck.
Right?
Finally, in 24, I think they figured it out. But from like 17 through 23, KTM stock WP enduro bike suspension, total downer.
4CS.
Total down.
I won't name names, but when I literally talk to somebody that their paycheck has WP written on it, and they say the first thing you need to do is get rid of those forks, there is no fixing them, then that says something. So again, we go back, it's kind of the same thing. Why, suspension shouldn't be, because it's not a finite thing.
Yeah.
Unless you're the guy they designed it for. And even then, because what did they say, right?
165 to 185.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to be a kind of a double track trail rider weighing that for that suspension to be for you. If you're anything outside of that, it's gonna suck, I can validate that it does.
Yeah, and even then, it's like you can take 5 guys at 165 or an average 165 pounds, put them on the bike, and all 5 of them will likely have a different opinion of it, or they'll all be pretty similar, but then they're going to say, yeah, but I wish I had a little more here. Well, the easiest thing I could relate that to is riding in the sand. There's some people that are deathly terrified running in the sand. I mean, it's like they see sand and they absolutely panic.
Yeah.
And there's other people that are like,
charge it, love it,
enjoy it, I'll ride sand all day. And then there's people in the middle that are kind of, intimidated. So whoops are another thing. Rough terrain is another thing. If you freak out and slow down, that suspension is going to work differently than if you carried your speed and skipped over a couple of things, and then you would have felt that plushness in it. But if you slow down and your first impression is hard, the problem is that there's too many variables with that. Now, horsepower, okay, I can but you're just a gearing change, an ECU tune away, getting it.
Some exhaust.
Yeah, to get it a little better, right? But suspension is just such a broad subject.
So I think what you're saying is anybody who complains about the suspension is applying a flawed metric. You can't expect stock suspension to please everybody, and it shouldn't, and it won't, and it doesn't. And if this doesn't please you, then that's on you. Get it fixed, get it sorted, get it revalved.
And if you think that I shouldn't have to get it fixed, I mean, that's kind of harsh, but okay, fine. Go spend another $4,000 on an Austrian bike, and you're going to have the same
stuff. And you're going to spend more money to fix that Austrian suspension than you did on that.
Than you would have done on the Kove. Yeah.
Suspension.
The Kove thing is nice. Is that we know that they took some cues from some of the other companies, and you can bolt on suspension from other bikes. I'm doing a retrofit on mine, and that's mind you, that bike came from a racing, like, they were out to beat it, kind of bike. So the suspension was worn out and it was time for a rebuild.
Okay.
So I got it, and it's like, okay, well,
it's upgraded.
Yeah, I'm just well, you know what? Like, I was going to do the Showa stuff anyway, so let's just do the Showa stuff. Well, now it comes with KYB. Now the bikes that you order come with the KYB stuff. Okay, cool. And I know there was comments about the suspension and about like, well, my suspension guy won't work on it and they won't do this. I saw a lot of that, and it's like, okay, I understand. And you know what? I work at a shop too. There's certain bikes we don't want to work on, and there's just because they end up being a rabbit hole, and it is what it is. And we don't want to upset the customer at times. It's like, yeah, we're willing to work on it, but it's going to be double. Why? Because I can see that the bike is rusted. I can see that the panels is sunken.
Clapped out machines.
Yeah. And you're not trying to be a dick, but you're just trying to like relay it to them. Like, look, so anyway, back to the suspension. Well, what I've heard and the feedback that I've gotten is that the suspension was way tight and a pain in the ass to take apart. That's weird because usually people think that when it's Chinese and it's I shouldn't say Chinese, when it's of that quality that they're expecting it to be because of the country of origin
and price point
price point.
Yep.
That it's going to be
sloppy, loose,
sloppy, crappy. So I'm like, okay, sloppy loose is me just trying to build it as fast as possible and not paying attention. Tight means I was trying to get it right and then ended up on the tighter side of the spectrum because it probably would go together a lot easier if the specs were a little bit looser. The tolerances were done. And so that conversation, like I guess we could beat the suspension conversation to a pulp and the end result ends up being the same. 80% of the people out there will probably never like stock suspension on a bike that they get. I mean, that's a pretty big number, but I think that's true. And if they haven't realized it yet, once they do venture in getting their suspension done and adjusted for them,